All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you'll turn to page 6 of your jury instructions, that's where I left off. And actually, before I continue reading, these are the verdict forms in this case. I didn't really go over them with you. There's one for each count. This verdict form is very different than what you saw in the guilt phase. It is a series of questions that you need to answer. They're really pretty self-explanatory. Just go through and answer each question, as to each one, either mark yes or no, and follow the directions. It's one of those that if you answer this yes, you go to this question. The instructions are pretty clear on each verdict form. And again, the foreperson needs to sign and date this forms, both of them. If you don't sign and date them, I just have to send you back to the jury room to do it. These are some general rules that apply to your discussions. You must follow these rules in order to make a lawful decision. 1, you must follow the law as it is set out in these instructions. If you fail to follow the law, your decisions will be a miscarriage of justice. There is no reason for failing to follow the law in this case. All of us are depending upon you to make a wise and legal decision in this matter. 2, your decisions must be based only upon the evidence that you have heard from the testimony of the witnesses in either the trial phase or penalty phase of the trial, or have seen in the form of the exhibits in evidence and these instructions. 3, your decisions must not be based upon the fact that you feel sorry for anyone or are angry at anyone. 4, remember, the lawyers are not on trial. Your feelings about them should not influence your decisions. 5, your decisions should not be influenced by feelings of prejudice, racial, or ethnic bias. Your decisions must be based on the evidence and the law contained in these instructions. In just a few moments, you will be taken to the jury room by the court deputy. When you have reached decisions in conformity with these instructions, the appropriate forms should be signed and dated by your foreperson. During deliberations, jurors must communicate about the case only with one another and only when all jurors are present in the jury room. You are not to communicate with any person outside the jury about this case, and you must not talk about this case in person or through the telephone, writing, or electronic communication, such as a blog, Twitter, email, text message, or any other means. Do not contact anyone to assist you during deliberations. These communications rules apply until I discharge you at the end of the case. If you become aware of any violation of these instructions or any other instruction I have given in this case, you must tell me by giving a note to the court deputy. During this trial, items were received into evidence as exhibits. You may examine whatever exhibits you think will help you in your deliberations. Some of these exhibits will be sent into the jury room with you when you begin to deliberate. I cannot participate in your deliberations in any way. Please disregard anything I may have said or done that made you think I preferred one decision over another. If you need to communicate with me, send a note through the court deputy signed by the foreperson. If you have questions, I will talk with the attorneys before I answer, so it may take some time. You may continue your deliberations while you wait for my answer. I will answer any questions, if I can, in writing or orally here in open court. In closing, let me remind you that it is important that you follow the law spelled out in these instructions. There are no other laws that apply to this case. Even if you do not like the laws that must be applied, you must use them. For more than 2 centuries, we have lived by the Constitution and the law. No juror has the right to violate rules we all share. Any further instructions requested by state? Defense?
No, Judge.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, with the exception of jurors 1475 and 961, the rest of you may retire to consider your verdict. Take your notepads, your jury instructions. I'll send the verdict forms back to you in just a second. Thank you. All right, it's no mystery to you that you were the 2 alternates. Alternates do serve a very important role in our jury system. I have reached alternates before in these cases. I've reached them in regular cases, and without you, there would have been a mistrial if we didn't have enough jurors. So on behalf of all of us, I do thank you for your service. You are discharged now as jurors in this case, so you can talk about this. You can go back to using your electronics. The deputies are going to escort you out. It's up to you whether you want to talk about your experience as jurors or not. You have an absolute right to refuse to speak to anyone about it. You also have a right to talk to anyone whom you wish, other than your 12 fellow jurors, until they are done with this case, all right? Again, thank you very much on behalf of all of us. You are free to go. Anything else? All right, we're in recess awaiting the verdict. What? Morning, Mr. Loyd. Mr. Loyd, the jury has retired to consider the penalty verdict. You understand that? You understand that you have an absolute right to be here throughout this process, including if they come back with questions, and for the verdict itself? All right. You're indicating to your attorney that you do not want to be here for the verdict. Is that correct? All right. And you want to return to the jail. Have you had enough time to talk to your attorney about that decision? Do you understand that if the jury comes back and asks a question, and I have to bring them into the courtroom to answer the question, you wouldn't be sitting there? I can't hear you. I'm sorry. What? Okay. And I'm also going to ask you, normally if the jury comes back with a verdict of life without parole, we go ahead and proceed to sentencing because it's mandatory sentences. Are you waiving your right to be present at sentencing if that happens? Okay. All right. Anything else? All right, send him back. Thanks. Court's in recess.